Welcome to Movic's Tales, where every journey uncovers a story. But today we're not chasing beauty or relaxation. We're stepping into the dark side of travel. From abandoned ghost towns to islands that whisper of death, these are the 10 scariest places on Earth. Places so chilling, you might think twice before ever visiting. Because this adventure isn't for the faint of heart. Now, let's enter the shadows. Number 10, Aokigahara Forest, Japan. The first time I entered Aokigahara, also known as Japan's Suicide Forest, I felt a strange stillness settle over me. The trees were so thick they swallowed sound, and the air felt heavy, as though the forest itself was alive. Even in daylight, the paths were dim, and the silence was broken only by the occasional flutter of wings or the snap of a twig underfoot. What makes Aokigahara chilling isn't just its beauty, it's the dark history tied to it. For decades, people have come here to end their lives. I remember spotting abandoned belongings, a worn shoe, a torn backpack, even colored ribbons tied to branches by volunteers trying to lead the lost back to safety. My phone lost signal quickly, and the deeper I walked, the easier it was to lose direction. At one point, I paused, realizing how easy it would be to vanish into this forest and never return. The moss-covered trees seemed to close in around me, and for the first time in my travels, I felt nature watching me. Aokigahara is beautiful in its own right, but walking through it leaves you with a weight in your chest, a reminder of how fragile life truly is. Number 9, the Catacombs of Paris, France. Beneath the lively streets of Paris lies a world few tourists ever see: the catacombs. When I descended into the tunnels, the cheerful sounds of the city faded, replaced by an eerie silence. The air was cool, damp, and smelled faintly of earth. As I walked deeper, the walls revealed their secret: thousands upon thousands of bones carefully stacked into patterns. Skulls stared blankly from alcoves, arranged neatly like decorations. The further I went, the more endless it felt. Tunnels stretching on for miles, filled with the remains of more than 6 million Parisians. At one point, my footsteps echoed so sharply that I thought someone was behind me. But when I turned, there was only darkness. The catacombs aren't just a burial site. They feel like a city of the dead, a hidden mirror beneath the one above. I paused by one wall of skulls, each belonging to someone who once lived, laughed, and dreamed in Paris. Now they were silent witnesses to those brave enough to visit. The longer I stayed, the heavier the atmosphere became, pressing against me like invisible hands, urging me to leave. Climbing back into the light of Paris, the sounds of cars and laughter felt unreal, almost too bright. The catacombs left me with a lasting thought. Beneath the beauty of every city, there might be a darker story waiting to be told. Number 8, the Island of the Dolls, Mexico. In the canals of Xochimilco near Mexico City lies one of the strangest and creepiest places I've ever visited: La Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. Arriving by boat, the island looked peaceful from a distance, but as we got closer, I saw them. Dolls, hundreds of them, hanging from trees, nailed to posts, scattered across the island. Their faces were cracked, their hair tangled, their eyes clouded. Some were missing limbs, others were covered in dirt and spider webs. And yet, they all seemed to watch you. The story goes that the island's caretaker hung the dolls to appease the spirit of a young girl who drowned nearby. Over time, visitors brought more dolls until the island became what it is today, a shrine of broken toys and whispers. Walking through, I felt uneasy. The dolls swayed gently in the breeze, creaking against the wood. One, dangling above me, had a single eye left, staring straight into mine. I couldn't shake the feeling that if I turned away too long, they'd shift positions. Locals believe the island is haunted, and after being there, I understand why. Even in broad daylight, the place feels alive with unseen energy. It's less like a tourist attraction and more like stepping into someone's nightmare. Leaving by boat, I looked back. And for a moment, I could have sworn one of the dolls was smiling. Number 7, the Tower of London, England. The Tower of London might look like just another historic castle, but standing inside its thick stone walls, I felt the weight of centuries of fear. This place wasn't only a royal palace, it was a prison, a torture chamber, and the final stop for many unlucky souls. As I walked through the courtyard, I imagined the footsteps of Anne Boleyn, the queen who lost her head right here. The guide pointed to the exact spot where her execution took place. I stood still, trying to picture the crowd, watching silently as history unfolded. Inside the tower, narrow passageways twisted into dimly lit rooms. The Bloody Tower, they called it, where princes mysteriously disappeared. In one chamber, old torture devices stood on display. Shackles, stretching racks, iron collars, tools designed to break both body and spirit. What haunted me most wasn't what I saw, but what I felt. At times, it was as though someone brushed past me when the hall was empty. The air grew colder in certain corners, and more than once, I caught myself glancing over my shoulder. The Tower of London is a piece of history, but it's also a reminder of the cruelty hidden behind royal walls. Walking out onto the bright streets of London, I couldn't help but feel that some stories never leave the stones they were written on. Number 6, the Door to Hell, Turkmenistan. Deep in the desert of Turkmenistan lies a fiery pit known as the Door to Hell. I didn't believe it at first, a crater burning endlessly for decades. But as I approached, the glow on the horizon told me it was real. Standing at the edge, the heat hit my face like an open oven. The pit stretched nearly 70 meters wide, flames roaring from its depths. It looked like the earth had cracked open, exposing the fire beneath. Locals say it's been burning since the 1970s when a drilling accident released natural gas that engineers tried to burn off. Only it never stopped. The longer I stared, the more unreal it felt. Flames leapt and danced, sending shadows flickering across the desert. The smell of burning gas filled the air, and the silence around the crater only amplified its roar. At night, the sight was even more terrifying. The desert turned pitch black, but the pit glowed like a beacon from another world. Leaning too close, I felt the ground trembling faintly under my feet, as if warning me to step back. I imagined what would happen if the earth gave way. The door to hell is mesmerizing, but it's also a reminder of humanity's mistakes, a fire we accidentally created and can no longer control. Watching it burn endlessly, I couldn't help but wonder, how long will it keep burning? And what else might be hiding beneath us? Number 5, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, USA. In West Virginia, I visited one of the most unsettling places in America, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. From the outside, the building looked almost beautiful. Towering stone walls, pointed windows, and sprawling grounds. But inside, it told a much darker story. The asylum once housed thousands of patients, many crammed together in conditions no human should endure. As I walked through the long, empty hallways, the peeling paint and broken doors whispered of suffering. Rooms were filled with rusted hospital beds, old medical charts, and echoes of forgotten lives. Some say the asylum is haunted, and I believe it. In one ward, the air grew icy cold even though it was summer outside. I heard a faint sound, like footsteps following me, but when I turned, there was no one there. The tour guide shared chilling tales of patients who never left, their spirits trapped in the very walls that held their pain. Standing in the old operating room was the hardest. Here, outdated treatments like lobotomies were once performed. The thought of people restrained on these tables with little understanding or care made my skin crawl. The asylum is now a historic site, but it feels alive in ways it shouldn't. Leaving the building, I felt both relieved and guilty. Relieved to escape its walls, guilty knowing that for thousands, escape was never an option. Number 4, Poveglia Island, Italy. Between Venice and Lido lies Poveglia, an island with a history so dark that locals avoid it entirely. Reaching it by boat, the island looked abandoned, overgrown with weeds and crumbling buildings. But once I set foot there, I felt a heaviness that no camera could capture. Poveglia was once a quarantine zone during the plague. Thousands of sick and dying people were left here, far from the mainland. Later, it became an asylum where patients endured questionable treatments. Some say the ground itself is mixed with the ashes of plague victims. Walking through the ruins, I passed collapsed walls covered in ivy, staircases that led to nowhere, and hospital rooms with broken furniture scattered like memories. The silence was suffocating. I swear I heard faint whispers carried by the wind, though no one else was near. The asylum's bell tower loomed over me, its empty windows staring down like watchful eyes. Local legends claim the doctor who performed cruel experiments on patients jumped from that tower, driven mad by the very spirits he tormented. Standing on the shore, I looked back at Venice in the distance. It seemed so close, yet here I was, surrounded by echoes of tragedy. Poveglia isn't just haunted by ghosts. It's haunted by the sheer weight of human suffering. Number 3, Chernobyl, Ukraine. When I arrived at Chernobyl, it felt like stepping into a frozen moment in time. Streets once filled with laughter and life now stood silent, abandoned after the 1986 nuclear disaster. The city of Pripyat, built for workers of the power plant, was the most haunting. Rusted Ferris wheels stood motionless in an empty amusement park. Classrooms were littered with books, as if students had just left moments ago. In reality, they never returned. Walking through apartment blocks, I saw children's toys, furniture, and photographs still in place. But everything was coated with dust, decay, and silence. Radiation meters clicked faintly as I explored, a constant reminder that the danger wasn't gone. Nature had taken over. Trees grew through cracked sidewalks, animals roamed freely, and yet the air felt heavy, toxic in ways I couldn't see. What struck me most was the contrast. A place once meant to represent progress and modern life had become a symbol of human error and tragedy. I remember standing on a rooftop, looking out at the vast emptiness of Pripyat, wondering how many lives had been changed in a single night. Chernobyl isn't just abandoned, it's a scar on the earth, a reminder that some mistakes last for generations. Number 2, the Capuchin Catacombs. Sicily in Palermo, Italy. I visited the Capuchin Catacombs, a place where death is displayed openly. Unlike other burial sites, this one doesn't just hold bones. It preserves entire bodies. Descending into the catacombs, I was met with rows upon rows of mummified corpses, dressed in clothes from centuries ago. Some still wore faded robes, others military uniforms. Men, women, children, even priests, all lined up along the walls, their faces dried but eerily human. The strangest thing was how personal it felt. These weren't just remains. They looked like people paused in time, as if they might blink at any moment. Some still had hair, teeth, even expressions frozen forever. One figure that stood out was a little girl named Rosalia Lombardo, often called the Sleeping Beauty. She died in 1920, yet her body is so perfectly preserved, she looks as though she's only napping. Staring at her face, I forgot for a moment that she had been gone for over a century. The silence in the catacombs was suffocating. Every step echoed too loudly. Every breath felt out of place. The deeper I went, the more overwhelming it became, a mixture of reverence and fear. Leaving the catacombs, I carried with me not just images of the dead, but a chilling awareness of how thin the line between life and death truly is. Number 1. The Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania. Known as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, Hoia Baciu Forest is one of the eeriest places I've ever set foot in. From the moment I entered, the atmosphere felt wrong. The trees twisted unnaturally, their trunks bending in odd directions, as if the forest itself was warped. Locals believe the forest is cursed, and stories of UFOs, ghost sightings, and strange disappearances are common. I went in during the day, but even then, the silence pressed heavily around me. Birds didn't sing and no wind rustled the leaves. It felt like stepping into another dimension. In the center of the forest, there's a clearing where nothing grows. No grass, no trees, just bare earth in a perfect circle. Standing there, I felt a wave of unease, like being watched from every direction. My equipment malfunctioned briefly and my camera froze, refusing to record. Some say people who spend too much time in the forest come out disoriented, with no memory of what happened inside. As I walked back, the paths seemed to shift. For a moment, I thought I'd lost my way entirely. When I finally stepped out, the air felt lighter, almost as if I'd been released. Hoia Baciu isn't just creepy. It's otherworldly, a place where the line between reality and legend blurs. And that's our journey through the 10 scariest places on Earth. From cursed islands to haunted ruins, each one reminds us how thin the line is between wonder and fear. If you enjoyed this spine-chilling trip, be sure to like, subscribe to Movic's Tales, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another adventure. Tell me in the comments, which of these places would you dare to visit? Thanks for exploring the shadows with me. This is Movic's Tales, and I'll see you in the next story.